Listen, who wouldn't be excited about this game? An AI comes to Earth, gets obsessed with human literature, brings his favorite characters to life, and then tries to see who would survive in an arena? Sign me up. Also, Orion wins. He's been alive for thousands of years, hunting things. Yeah, easy.
Here at Two Taverns, we're asking a group of authors to put their mouth where their keyboard is. Each author will play their favorite character, a character they created in a deadly dungeon setting unlike anything you've ever seen before. So let's get to it.
My name is Andrew Givler. I write in urban fantasy. I write a series called The Debt Collection. It's the story of a young man named Matthew Carver who has a terrible life. And on his 24th birthday, a demon approaches him and says, hey, what if we fixed your life? Perfect life. 10 years of a perfect life of bliss in exchange for your soul. Now, Matthew has read a book before and he says, no, thank you. I know how that turns out. Pass. I'm good. But the demon, his name is Dan, is behind on his quota, down on his luck, and under a lot of pressure from his management. So he forges Matt's signature on the contract and runs off into the night. Matt's life completely turns around and this thrusts him into a supernatural world where he realizes that his soul is forfeit and he needs to figure out how to get it back. And through that, he meets a lot of supernatural creatures, makes friends, makes a lot of enemies, causes a lot of problems, and there's a lot of stress. That's the series. Right now, the first 3 books are out. Fourth one comes out early next year, and that's the path we're on. He's not having a good time. I got into writing because I've always loved to read. I started reading at a young age. I read very voraciously. And as I read, I very quickly knew as a kid that I wanted to tell stories. I love telling stories. And so it's been a life goal of mine since I was in my early teens. And then I sort of got busy doing a YouTube channel and forgot about it. Then during the pandemic, I was like, wait, why did I stop writing? And so I finished Soul Fraud, which was my first book that I had almost done and just hadn't finished, and haven't looked back since. So Orion is a Nephilim, and in the universe of the Debt Collection, Nephilim exist all over the place. But depending on how much demonic blood that they have, how many generations removed they are from their demon ancestor, they are more powerful, more immortal, or less. So great athletes might have a hint of demon blood in them and have no idea, versus Orion kind of hovers close to the line, almost demigod level sort of thing. As Matthew goes on his adventure to figure out how the heck he's supposed to get his soul back, he meets a young Nephilim who is very low in the power rankings, but who knows Orion. And when Orion finds out about his plight, he is sort of not a patron saint, but he's somebody who likes to watch out for the little guy. He is the captain of the hunt, and he picks battles. And he decides that this is a battle he wants to take on. He takes Matt under his wing, begins to teach him, but also to fight for him. He's not a paladin or anything like that, but he has a sense of justice, and he can't stand to see something like this happen to Matt.
Your hero encounters a Tarazar standing between him and his objective. What does he do? A. Attack it head on. B. Try to sneak past. C. Try to trap or poison the beast. D. Lure it away. E. Throw a fireball up its,
I will say A, Orion would challenge it head on. So in my universe, Orion carries a fiery sword, which is an immortal killing blade. It makes him very, very deadly. He's one of the deadliest swordsmen to ever live. There is very little he's afraid of. He defies fallen angels. He is not intimidated. The constellation congregation determines who gets put in the sky. And Orion earned his star by killing one of everything that exists. That is how he became known as the Hunter. So encountering something he doesn't know does not intimidate him. He is, for better or for worse, completely absent of fear. Okay, so this is actually canon. Orion loves ice cream. And if I had to guess, he actually loves ice cream cake. He is a very big advocate. He thinks that humanity peaked when they made ice cream cake. And my guess is that he'd be a mint chocolate chip ice cream cake kind of guy. That seems like his vibe. I chose Orion because the fact that he has a constellation. Most of the constellations are still alive in my universe, and the main character often encounters them. Actually, in the 3rd book, he actually attends the Constellation Congregation, which is like their meeting of their council, led by Polaris himself. And so Orion is one of the biggest heroes who exists in the stars, who also doesn't get talked about a lot. So I thought he'd be really fun to use. And I knew I could kind of blend him with some sort of like the thematic things from like the Wild Hunt and stuff like that. Like that's where I pulled a lot of his ideas and merged it with his myth. And so he just kind of like perfectly fit what I needed while also sort of fitting in how I wanted to build the world around him. Orion is Matthew's mentor and the other young Nephilim that Matthew befriended. He sort of takes both of them in. He is a little bit cold because the previous sort of members of the hunt that he had were all viciously killed in a battle that went horribly wrong with a dragon. So Orion is like the sole surviving member, and he carries a lot of guilt about that. So it's a little bit of like a learning to love again kind of arc where he takes these guys in because the world's being unfair to them and he can't stand to see it. And it's some of the same people who were unfair to him and betrayed his original hunt. So there's a bit of vengeance and a bit of a bone to pick with these people, but he's a little hard around the edges. And over time, he begins to warm up to them more as they prove themselves and kind of just like wear down his sort of rough exterior. Orion has a lot of my favorite moments because he's actually like the most powerful member of the good guy team at the moment. So he's the one who has to step up when the big bads show up. I think my favorite moment I can't say because it's a spoiler. So I'll say my second favorite moment, which is that Orion duels the CFO of Hell, who comes to try to like lock up Matt's contract. His name is Zagan. He's a fallen angel. And Orion duels him to a standstill and actually forces him to cheat in order to survive. I think that Orion would say strength above all, and then pain is life. Life is pain. E, idiots will not be tolerated. And then street smarts matter. How you doing? And then one must be flexible, for he is very inflexible. The next book that comes out in the series is book 4. It's called Death Tax. It's going to come out probably late April, early May. And in it, well, Matthew Carver, unfortunately, owes some debts that he needs to pay. As sort of is revealed in the first book, he has a sister who's suffering. Her soul is halfway between this world and the other. Half her soul's across the veil, half her soul's here. He goes to find it, ends up owing Death a favor, and has to go through a whole lot of adventures in the underworld. And a lot of really bad things happen to him. But it should be a lot of fun, and he'll come out of it with some cool new things that he can use. So Orion's weapon of choice is a flaming, fiery sword that has the ability to kill even immortals. Its origins are a little unclear, but it has demonstrated a particular distrust of things. Like it has a little bit of intelligence to it. The main character uses it in the first book, and it burns him. He has a scar from its hilt in his hand, and it has a little bit of morality about it, where it's not to be used lightly. It has accepted Orion. It does not accept most other people.
Unfortunately, the weapon that you've selected is unavailable. You and your companions are stuck in a Volian lab. In exploring this laboratory, you find a flamethrower that you're reasonably sure has been used for creme brulee, a cheese grater, a frying pan, a frozen straw with a pointy end, and several other items commonly found in a Volian lab or kitchen. Given these options, what is your character's weapon of choice?
I think Orion would go for the flamethrower immediately. He likes doing damage. Just because he carries a sword, actually, he's not opposed to using guns at all. He often does. He has a Desert Eagle that he stole from a fallen angel, which has no magical properties. He just stole it. Anything at range, he's incredibly comfortable doing too. I think that he would either use the flamethrower or he would grab the frying pan to use as sort of a bludgeon once he set them on fire. Put him on fire, then beat him to death would really be sort of his modus operandi.
Your hero is trapped on the water planet Novella. It's a nasty planet dominated by water and filled with squid-like creatures that humans might mistake for mini krakens. What does your character do?
I don't think Orion would be intimidated by mini krakens, since technically he's killed a kraken before. He would go around to find safety by going in a straight line, and anything that got in his way, he would deal with, and he would be unimpressed because he's already seen this, done this. Maybe if there was a particularly large pack of them, he would not want to deal with it, but otherwise it would be straight lines. Oh, that's where I should go. Going. I think I admire Orion's resiliency. He's had a lot of terrible things happen to him, and it has made him withdrawn and reserved and probably a little emotionally stunted, but he still has that like core set of values. Like he hasn't been broken by it. His original crew was murdered because they stood up to dragons for small people. And even though they all died, when he was presented with this horrible situation with Matthew, he immediately, no questions asked, was like, I'm in, this is wrong. So he has this strong sense of justice that doesn't go away, even though it's been a burden for him and bad things have happened to him because he's chosen to do the right thing. I'd say that Orion's biggest like weak spot or blind spot is hubris. He thinks in straight lines, so sometimes he gets outfoxed by clever demons or fae who are tricky, and he hates them for that. He has never he's never met something he doesn't think he can fight, and so he walks into traps because he doesn't care if it's a trap. But sometimes that has repercussions. Sometimes that means that he gets outplayed. He may win the battle and lose the war because of it. Oh, he gets a milkshake. At McDonald's, he's getting a milkshake for sure. He's a big ice cream guy. You know, I think Orion would be excited that he has a primal side to him. And I think encountering creatures that he hasn't hunted before would awaken him and also make him feel a little incomplete because he earned his star by killing one of everything. So if he finds something he hasn't killed, it would actually probably create a little bit of a dissonance in him that would make him feel like he needed to match himself against it to prove that he's still the hunter.